Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more.
With 2025 now less than 2 weeks away, what movies are moviegoers anticipating the most? Fandango conducted a poll of 9,000 ticket buyers asking this very question, and then published the results about a week ago. And here's what they had to say. But before proceeding, if you're enjoying this video, please consider pressing the like button, and if you'd like to see more of my content, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. And I want to convey my deepest thanks and appreciation to everyone who has subscribed. So the most anticipated movies include the following, but do you see which movie is missing from Fandango's list of the most anticipated movies for 2025? Why, none other than Disney's upcoming live-action version of Snow White, starring that woke activist actress Rachel Zegler, who only continues to prove that she's the kiss of death for nearly any movie that she's in.
Weird.
Isn't that interesting? Of course, that goes hand in hand with the 31,000 likes versus the 789,000 dislikes that the movie's most recent trailer currently has on YouTube, which is a ratio of around 25.5 to 1 against. But let's examine each of the 10 most anticipated movies on this list. At the top of the list is Disney's and Marvel Studios' next MCU movie that's entitled Captain America: Brave New World, which is slated to premiere on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. And does that Valentine's Day release date strike you as being potentially just a little bit
Weird.
given that many people who'd want to go and see a movie together on that date might want to see a romantic movie and not just another superhero flick?
She's not gonna be safe with the prince, and she's not gonna be dreaming about true love.
Well, that explains why Snow White isn't being released on Valentine's Day. Snow White is essentially Disney's anti-Valentine's Day movie, which may also explain why Disney is releasing Captain America: Brave New World on that date instead. And it's going to be the next MCU movie to come after this year's highly successful movie Deadpool and Wolverine, which has risen to be the MCU's 6th highest grossing movie worldwide of all time, with its global earnings of $1,338.1 million as of the time that I am recording this video. Captain America: Brave New World is also going to be the first MCU movie under the Captain America banner to not include Chris Evans as the character of Steve Rogers in the titular role. Instead, the character donning the iconic red, white, and blue costume will be the character Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, as played by the 46-year-old actor Anthony Mackie. Many people had hoped that the character of Bucky Barnes, who was played by the actor Sebastian Stan, who's 4 years younger than Anthony Mackie and was in 7 previous MCU movies, would become the next Captain America. But Sam Wilson becoming the next Captain America was set in motion when Steve Rogers gave his iconic red, white, and blue shield to him at the end of the 2019 movie Avengers: Endgame. So those disappointed that the role was given to Sam Wilson and not to Bucky Barnes may choose not to see this new Captain America movie. And various sources have reported that Captain America: Brave New World has undergone 2 or 3 separate reshoot periods due to the movie not being well received during multiple test screenings, so I'm not sure how well the movie will ultimately perform at the box office. But a recent trailer that was released by Marvel Studios about a month ago on YouTube currently has 339,000 likes versus 38,000 dislikes for a positive like to dislike ratio of 8.9 to 1. The movie's production budget, however, is currently estimated to be between $350 million to $375 million, according to World of Real, due to the reshoots and other factors. And when we multiply that possible production budget range of $350 million to $375 million by 2.5 and 3.0 respectively, to account for the 50% of gross box office ticket sales that movie theaters keep for themselves, as well as the additional costs of marketing the movie and other miscellaneous costs that the studio pays above and beyond the production budget, that yields an estimated break-even point range for Captain America Brave New World of $875 million to $1,125 million. In other words, this movie may have to become the MCU's 11th highest grossing movie worldwide of all time just to break even, because that's essentially on par with the $1,129.6 million in final global gross box office revenue that was earned by 2019's Captain Marvel. So will Captain America Brave New World be able to break even after it premieres on Valentine's Day? Given the multiple reshoots, the multiple failed test screenings, and people disappointed that Bucky Barnes isn't the next Captain America, I personally have my doubts whether this movie will be able to break $1 billion worldwide. But we'll have to wait and see. The movie also stars Harrison Ford, who's now 82 years old, and plays the character Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who also becomes Red Hulk in the movie. So that may attract some longtime Star Wars or Indiana Jones fans to want to watch the movie. Actress Liv Tyler, who played Elrond's daughter Arwen in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy of movies in the early 2000s, plays the character of Betty Ross. But moving on, the second most anticipated movie in Fandango's poll is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which will be the 8th movie in the Mission Impossible franchise and stars Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, Hannah Waddingham, and Vanessa Kirby. The previous movie in the franchise, 2023's Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, ended up becoming one of that year's biggest flops, as I had talked about in multiple previous videos that I had released at the time. With that movie's production budget of $290 million, when multiplied by 2.5 and 3.0 respectively, that yielded an estimated break-even point range of around $725 million to $870 million. But since the movie only managed to earn $570.6 million in global gross box office earnings, its losses were around $154.4 million to $299.4 million in global gross box office revenue, which, when divided by 2 to account for the 50% of gross box office ticket sales that movie theaters keep for themselves, means that Paramount Pictures, Skydance Productions, and Tom Cruise Productions lost around $77.2 million to $149.7 million. So 2023's Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 was a definite flop, and the production budget for 2025's Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is currently being reported by Screen Rant to be around a whopping $400 million. So when we multiply that number by 2.5 and 3.0 respectively, that yields an estimated break-even point range of $1 billion to $1,200 million. So just to marginally break even, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is going to need to earn at least 1.76 times as much as what 2023's Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 earned globally. So will Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning be able to break even? I'll begin by saying that no previous Mission Impossible movie has ever earned $1 billion at the global box office, so we'll have to wait and see sometime after the movie premieres on May 23rd of next year. The third most anticipated movie for next year is Jurassic World Rebirth, which is slated to premiere on July 2nd, 2025, and will be the 7th movie in the Jurassic Park/Jurassic World franchise, which began in 1983. Produced by Amblin Entertainment and the Kennedy/Marshall Company, the movie stars Jonathan Bailey, Scarlett Johansson, and Ed Skrein, though none of them have appeared in any previous movie within the franchise. Of these three, Scarlett Johansson is an alumnus of Disney Marvel's MCU, and Ed Skrein may be best remembered for his portrayal of the character Ajax in the original 2016 Deadpool movie. The movie is being directed by Gareth Edwards, who previously directed 2014's Godzilla and 2016's Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, which is the only Disney Star Wars movie that I actually like. The movie's production budget is reported to be $265 million according to the website Movie Bulletins, which makes it the most expensive movie in the franchise to date. And when multiplied by 2.5 and 3.0 respectively, that yields an estimated break-even point range of $662.5 million to $795 million. But since the previous three Jurassic World movies have each earned more than $1 billion at the global box office, Jurassic World Rebirth may be able to break even. The fourth most anticipated movie for 2025 is a John Wick spin-off movie entitled Ballerina, which stars Ana de Armas, Keanu Reeves, and Catalina Sandino Moreno. And as the title implies, this movie appears to be a girl boss movie, especially given the movie's tagline. An assassin trained in the traditions of the Ruska Roma organization sets out to seek revenge after her father's death. Produced by Thunder Road Pictures, 8711 Entertainment, Lionsgate, and Summit Entertainment, its production budget is reported to be $150 million by Screen Rant, which is $50 million more than the $100 million production budget that 2023's movie John Wick 4 had. Thus, Ballerina is the most expensive movie in the John Wick franchise to date, and when multiplying its $150 million production budget by 2.5 and 3.0 respectively, that yields an estimated break-even point range of $375 million to $450 million. Given that the highest-grossing movie worldwide in the John Wick franchise is currently 2023's John Wick 4, which earned $440.3 million, Ballerina has to earn even more than that, which I am not confident that it will be able to do given that it's a spin-off girl boss movie, and audiences have become increasingly weary of girl boss movies and shows, much like this year's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, which was a huge flop. The fifth most anticipated movie for 2025 is yet another Disney Marvel MCU movie, The Fantastic Four: First Steps, which I would have named The Fantastic Four Meets the Silver She-Surfer. So yes, wokeness and feminism will flow freely in this upcoming movie that's slated to premiere on July 25th as a summer blockbuster. Though I strongly believe that it's very likely going to become an expensive summertime flop, because the moment that I heard that Disney's Marvel Studios was going to produce a Fantastic Four movie, I never gave it much hope of doing well, because no Fantastic Four movie that has preceded it has ever done well, and Marvel's casting choices have only reinforced my original viewpoint. The movie stars Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss-Backrack as the forgettable foursome, and actress Julie Garner was hired to portray a female version of the Silver Surfer using his girlfriend's name, Shala Ball, in an effort to try to hide the fact that this was just another DEI/woke identity politics casting choice. Unfortunately, no production budget figure has yet been reported, though I personally doubt that it will be less than $250 million, so we'll have to wait and see how well or how poorly this movie ends up doing in theaters. And since we're now halfway through the list, what do you think of these 5 movies so far? Are you interested in seeing any of them, or are you planning to avoid any of them? Please let us know in the comments below. Moving on to the 6th most anticipated movie for 2025, we find James Cameron's 3rd movie in his epic sci-fi Avatar movie franchise, and it's entitled Avatar: Fire and Ash, which is slated to premiere on December 19th, 2025. Starring Zoe Saldana, Kate Winslet, Sigourney Weaver, Jermaine Clement, David Thewlis, who played Remus Lupin in the Harry Potter movie franchise, Matt Gerald, Sam Worthington, and many more, the 3rd movie's production budget may be as low as $250 million, as reported by several websites, or it may be as high as $400 million, as reported by the Movie Database website. Since the production budget for the original 2009 Avatar movie was $237 million, and for the 2022 Avatar: The Way of Water movie, it was $460 million, then neither a $250 million production budget or one as high as $400 million are unreasonable for the 3rd movie. And since the original 2009 Avatar movie is the highest grossing movie worldwide of all time, with earnings over $2.9 billion, and the 2022 Avatar The Way of Water is the third highest grossing movie worldwide of all time, with earnings over $2.3 billion, I think it's safe to say that Avatar Fire and Ash is probably going to do very well at the box office, and could potentially become 2025's highest grossing movie worldwide. Of course, Wicked Part 2, which was recently renamed as Wicked for Good, made it into the top 10 most anticipated movies for 2025, but as number 7. It stars many of the same actors and actresses, including Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jeff Goldblum, and Michelle Yeoh, and its production budget is believed to be around $165 million, which is slightly higher than the production budget for this year's Wicked. Wicked recently broke even and is now making bank, so I currently expect that Wicked for Good will be able to do the same, but only time will tell. The 8th most anticipated movie is another sequel, The Accountant 2, which is slated to premiere on April 25th, and has a rather high production budget for an action crime drama of $155 million, as reported by Screen Rant earlier this year. The movie stars J.K. Simmons, Ben Affleck, and Jon Bernthal, and it will be interesting to see if it can break even, because the original 2016 movie, whose production budget was only $40 million, had earnings of $153 million, which is just under this movie's production budget. So if we multiply this movie's $155 million production budget by 2.5 and 3.0 respectively, that yields an estimated break-even point range of $387.5 million to $465 million. Whether The Accountant 2 will be able to earn that much at the box office is yet to be seen. The 9th most anticipated movie for 2025 is yet another superhero movie, but from Marvel's rival, DC Studios, which is run by James Gunn and Peter Safran. So yes, this will be James Gunn's promised reboot of Superman, which he had originally named to be Superman Legacy, but he has since simplified the name to just Superman, and it will inaugurate the beginning of his DCU. The movie stars Nicholas Hoult, who gets top billing as Lex Luthor, Isabella Merced, and Frank Grillo. Actor David Corenswet will be playing the titular role of Superman, aka Clark Kent. But two actors who have higher billing than David Corenswet are two veterans from the short-lived sci-fi series Firefly, Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion. Tudyk's voice can be heard in Disney's Moana 2, which is currently playing in theaters. But he also appeared in Disney's audience-rejected 2023 streaming movie Peter Pan and Wendy, and before that he voiced several roles in Disney's very woke and totally rejected animated 2022 movie Strange World. But among his better roles, he played Luke in 2018's Deadpool 2, and he voiced the droid K2SO in 2016's Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. It's interesting to me that two of the most anticipated movies for 2025 have connections to Rogue One. As for Nathan Fillion, one of his most recent roles was voicing the character of Headpool in the very popular Deadpool and Wolverine movie, and he also played Master Karja in 2023's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which was the only live-action superhero movie that year out of 7 that actually broke even. James Gunn's Superman is reported to have a production budget of around $363.8 million, which was discovered by a Reddit user who found the information listed on the Ohio Motion Picture Tax Credit website, where a tax credit of around $37 million had been filed under the movie's original title of Superman Legacy. This was reported by World of Real last February, but James Gunn has publicly refuted the claim. I personally believe that he's just trying to gaslight the general public because studios do their utmost to conceal their actual costs. So, assuming that the $363.8 million production budget is accurate, when multiplied by 2.5 and 3.0 respectively, that yields an estimated break-even point range of $909.5 million to $1,091.4 million, and whether James Gunn's Superman can earn that much is currently anybody's guess. The 10th and last movie listed on Fandango's most anticipated movies for 2025 is 28 Years Later, which is the third movie for the 28 Days Later franchise that began with the first movie in 2003 that had a very low production budget of $8 million. The second movie, which was released in 2007 and was entitled 28 Weeks Later, had a production budget of $15 million. But this third movie has a reported production budget of $75 million, which is 5 times the cost of the previous movie and considerably higher than the rate of inflation. When the $75 million production budget is multiplied by 2.5 and 3.0 respectively, that yields an estimated break-even point range of $187.5 million to $225 million. And since the previous movies earned $82.8 million and $64.2 million respectively in global gross box office revenue, I find it doubtful that this third movie will be able to earn 2.7 to 3.5 times the previous movie's earnings to break even. But we'll find out after 28 Years Later premieres on June 20th, 2025. So to recap, I find it less likely that the movies Captain America Brave New World, Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning, Ballerina, The Fantastic Four Meets the Silver She-Surfer, The Accountant 2, and 28 Years Later will be able to break even. But I find it very likely that the movies Jurassic World Rebirth, Avatar Fire and Ash, and Wicked for Good will be able to break even. And I'm not sure about how likely or unlikely it might be for Superman to be able to break even. But what do you think about these last 5 movies, as well as how I ranked all 10 of them on the list in terms of whether they may be able to break even or not? Are you personally interested in seeing any of these movies, or are you planning to avoid any of them? I'd love to know if you put it into the comments below. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to each and every one of you who has subscribed to support this channel. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and Blue Sky by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.